So let's talk about something that's at the very heart of the financial world: trust. How do we really know a company is telling the truth about its finances? Today, we're going to dive deep into a crucial process auditors use to verify that the money a company says it's owed is actually real.
Okay, so picture this. A huge company, let's say a big retailer, puts out its financial report, and it says customers owe $10 million. Now that number, that's a huge deal. It affects their stock price, whether they can get a loan, pretty much everything. But here's the real question. How do investors, or frankly, how do we, know that number isn't just wishful thinking?
And there's an official name for this money, of course. It's called trade receivables. The easiest way to think about it is like a company's official IOU list. It's all the invoices they've sent out for stuff they've already delivered, and now they're just waiting to get paid. For any business, this is a seriously important asset on their books. So, how do auditors sort fact from fiction here? Well, they have a really powerful tool in their toolkit called external confirmation. It's basically financial detective work. Instead of just taking the company's word for it, they go straight to the source. They talk to the customers themselves to verify the debt. It is the ultimate fact check.
And here it is, the master plan. I know. This flowchart looks a little intense at first glance, but trust me, it's basically the auditor's playbook. Think of it as our roadmap for getting to the bottom of this. It's the step-by-step guide for finding the truth, and we're gonna walk through it together.
All right, so where does an investigation like this even begin? We're starting right at the top of our flowchart. Because before an auditor sends a single email or makes a single call, they have to think like a strategist.
You know, the very first step is all about the game plan. The auditor has to zoom out and look at the big picture. They're asking themselves, what could possibly go wrong here? What are the biggest risks? And what's the smartest, most efficient way to get the hard evidence I need? This initial brainstorming really sets the stage for everything else that happens. So, to guide this whole investigation, auditors use this really handy acronym, CARE. It stands for Completeness. Are we sure all the receivables are actually on the books? Accuracy. Are the dollar amounts spot on? R for rights. Does the company really have the legal right to collect this cash? And E for existence, and this is a big one. Does this debt, and even the customer, actually exist in the first place? These four questions, they are the absolute bedrock of the entire audit.
Okay, so the plan is locked in. Now it's time to put that plan into motion. This is where all that theory becomes real, on-the-ground practice.
And now we're at the heart of it all, the direct confirmation process. Look, auditors can't possibly talk to every single customer, right? So they pick a strategic sample. They send out these requests, and then the real detective work kicks in. They're hunting for any little difference between what the customer says and what the company's records show. And don't worry, they've got a backup plan for the customers who don't write back.
And let me be clear, this is not your average, "Hey, do you owe us money?" email. Oh no. The design of this confirmation request is practically a science. It has to be a formal, written response that goes directly to the auditor. No middlemen, no detours. Everything from the timing of when it's sent to the specific wording is carefully crafted to get the most reliable, unbiased evidence possible. This all sounds pretty solid, right? But it brings up a very obvious question. What happens when things don't go perfectly? I mean, what if a major customer just totally ignores the request? Or even worse, what if they write back and say, "Nope, we don't owe that amount"?
That is an excellent question. And guess what? Our flowchart has the answer. See, auditors are kind of like scientists. They know that one piece of evidence, one data point is never enough. They have to cross-reference everything and build a solid case.
Think of it like building a case in court. That direct confirmation, that's your star witness. It proves the customer is real and the debt exists. But you still need supporting evidence to make your case airtight. We're talking shipping documents, sales orders, proof that a payment eventually came through. And you also have to be a realist. Is the customer actually able to pay? It's all about creating a complete 360-degree view of the situation.
So, we've gone through all this planning, all this detective work. What's the big takeaway here? Why does this incredibly detailed, sometimes tedious process matter so much? All right, so what have we learned? Let's boil it down. First, auditing receivables isn't just about crunching numbers. It's about verifying reality. Second, this whole process is methodical, systematic investigation. It's not just ticking a few boxes.
Third, getting that direct confirmation from an outside party, from a customer, is one of the most powerful pieces of evidence an auditor can get their hands on. And finally, and this is so important, no single piece of evidence is a silver bullet. A truly reliable conclusion always comes from combining and corroborating different sources.
So the next time you see a company's financial report, just take a second to remember all the invisible work that went into it. It's this complex, evidence-based process that really underpins the trust we all place in our financial system. Because without it, you have to ask yourself, how could we ever be sure that the numbers we're looking at are even real?